I appreciate everybody joining us this evening. We're gonna have a talk with the some Black veterans. It's a a perspective that isn't heard enough. It is super important to the fabric of this entire country. What the Black veterans have done, literally since since the beginning of this country. You know, not only from a slavery point, but every single war that's been fought, we've been a part of it, and these voices and these experiences aren't heard enough. And these gentlemen got something to say.
What drives an insecure dude? Foreign cars are driving a mini coupe. Pretty ladies all over the city. Let me adjust the body, no, let me adjust the body. We selling out. Sex drives for the dudes' hormones. Love don't mean the same no more. What used to be a miracle, now it's something unbearable. Coming from the umbilical, life giving a cynical. And I don't wanna die right now. I just wanna live my life. And all I see is hell right now. Soon I will see them lights. But what is the motive of all that you brought to the table?
Everybody introduce themselves and they can talk about their where they served and however much detail they want to go into. So Jeffrey Jones, can we start with you, and then we'll kind of move around, and you can introduce yourself and talk about your experience real quick.
Like I said, I'm Jeff. Me and Dion, we met at Schlumberger where we worked together. My military experience, I'm a fire controlman, second class, E5, Tomahawk type, United States Navy. I served from 97 till '05.
Okay.
Two deployments. It it's a lot of great experiences. I learned a lot of things. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. A little bit more, like Dion said earlier. I'm I'm second generation. My father, last billet was Command Master Chief, NAS Pensacola. Um, my sister's married to I don't know what you call them in the Army, but in the Navy they call them Mustangs. He came in undesignated without a job, enlisted, worked his way up, got out as an '05. My wife currently works for him because he owns a security consulting business now. Wife currently works for him now. Um, it's just my son's a Marine right now. Hurt my heart, but I mean, hurt my heart, but he's a Marine right now. My wife, her parents are retired Marines. My nephew right now is a '04 Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy. Uh, it's it's military service throughout my family. I don't know nothing else. Like socialized medicine, like they talk about it. I was raised on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
so I came out just right. That's about it, man. Sorry if I went too long.
No, man. Thank you. Uh, why don't we go with Joe? Joe, you want to jump in and
Yes, Joseph Hart, formerly Staff Sergeant Hart. I served with Dion at Fort Polk, and anybody that's ever been to Fort Polk knows Fort Polk is different. In fact, our unit, our entire unit, snuck on a deployment to get to Afghanistan to get away from Fort Polk.
oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, so I did 20 years, retired. 3 Iraqi vacations, 2 Afghanistan vacations, and it was my biological father. He was in the Navy. That's how he got from Puerto Rico to the U.S. Two of my adoptive brothers, they were both in the Korean War, and my younger brother, he was in the Navy, but he did some silly stuff to get himself kicked out of there. And it's like the whole subject of we fight for a country that don't always turn around and fight back for us. And a lot of times, and that's what I really did it for those old World War II and World War One vets that came back and were told to take their uniforms off. That's why I do it proudly, and I do it. Ain't nobody gonna run me up out of what I fought for.
Yeah. Uh, Deshaun.
Peace. I take it off on mute. Sergeant First Class Jones, still currently serving. I'm in the active guard reserve component. I met Dion a long time ago in the summer of 2000 in AIT at Fort Jackson, where we were young, full of motivation. You could tell we were leaders at that point. It was just clear. And married, 3 kids, married 7 years, stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia. One deployment to Iraq, 03 to 04. And myself and Dion, I call him Rock. We've been connected since 2000. Fell out of the loop, fell back in the loop through social media, and we share about 99% of the same principles in terms of just manhood, fatherhood, being a husband, and also leadership and Christian faith. So I think that this is an excellent platform. I had something similar to this when the George Floyd killing first happened, amongst about 8 African American, both male and female NCOs and officers. So this is another necessary conversation about our perspective on serving. So I'm glad to share this energy with you, brothers, and that's my piece.
Thank you. Thank you. Larry.
All right. Well, hey, first of all, man, I want to say thank y'all, man, for coming on. It's like you said, there's a lot of times where we're so misunderstood, and until we actually take a platform to where people can understand us, we got to make them understand us. And I think that this is a start. I met Dion back at Fort Stewart back in my younger days. Back in I went to Stewart in 2002. I was at Fort Stewart from 2002 to 2011. We was in the same unit pretty much the whole time, running around, flag football, all that kind of crazy stuff. 3 deployments to Iraq, 1 to Afghanistan. I was a Bradley mechanic at first, and I reclassed because I couldn't get promoted. So I reclassed and got promoted. Got out in 2011. So now I'm contracting with Oshkosh Defense. So I'm still connected to the military. Right now I'm working with the Marine Corps in Hawaii. That's pretty much it, man. I'm ready to get into this discussion.
All right.
I'm ready to go.
Dion, you want to bring us home on the introductions?
All right. Dion, I don't know how many generations of service have, because it goes back very far. At least to the Buffalo Soldier era. Both world wars, Vietnam. I mean, goodness gracious, so many of my uncles and cousins were drafted into Vietnam and then, had to come home and still have to deal with what they had to deal with here. I have cousins that served in my generation, and deployed, took 3 deployments, once to Iraq, once to Afghanistan. Now I'm just trying to help the next generation figure out, if they want to, is there a better way to do it, and how they can get it done and still serve with pride as an African American in this country.
Cool. D, I don't know if you're gonna use real choppy. So I don't know if there's another spot that's better, just in case it keep happening. But just FYI. So I'm Baxter Hall, man. Baxter E Hall. I did not serve, man. My pops served in the Army and was in the Korean War, actually. He's old. But I just want to say I'm honored to be a part of the conversation, and yeah, salute you, brothers, man. Like, it's important. I'm looking forward to the conversation today. So why don't we just jump right into it? The first topic I want to ask you guys about is how do you feel about the voice and the history of the Black veteran being ignored on like a national scale? I feel like I saw Joe ready. So why don't you start us off?
I mean, it's how much history did you learn after school? Most of what you learned happened after school. It's not just the veteran experience that they're not teaching. You know, you still got people that don't understand. Watchmen came out about a year and a half ago. Everybody all of a sudden learned about Tulsa. All of a sudden. So if they ain't telling you that story, they'll throw Christmas Addicts up there. You
Yeah.
know, they'll throw him out there, but they're not telling the story about the Black vets. It 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 bothers me, but it don't surprise me. You know, the part that hurts is, you know, like I said, I got different brothers, older brothers that served, but I got nephews, nieces, little brothers and stuff, and they act like it's such a foreign idea to serve. And the sad part is I can kind of understand, because do you really want to risk your health, your life, and everything in a country that ain't, you know, going all out for you? But it bothers me, but it doesn't surprise me. And that's why I think it was the brother L Boogie said, you know, we got to make them learn. We got to make them listen to us, because they're not going to tell our story.
El Boogie.
I would just to piggyback off of what Joe said, man. At the end of the day, like I just feel like we, as Black men, we've never had a voice on the national level. To, like I said, I go back to saying, like, we have to make them understand us. We have to make them see where we're coming from. Until we put that example in front of them, they're never gonna understand. So I think that if you think back to the days of actual prominent vet, Black vet, I mean, on a national level, probably be Colin Powell. I mean, that's probably the last African American that was on the big screen, and he really, you know, he really didn't speak up for us. So, like I said, until you get somebody to actually speak up for you, nobody's gonna understand. You can, like your mom and dad said, I can yell at you till the cows come home. You just don't understand. You just don't understand. So, I agree with Joe. You have to make them understand where you're coming from.
D, will you jump in?
The history, it's just like, you know, plenty of the other things that I follow is truncated, right? So you'll hear Tuskegee Airmen, right? We'll see Red Tails. We'll see that all the time, right? You won't really, I mean, you saw Glory, but they're not gonna really talk about the Buffalo Soldiers. You'll never hear of the Harlem Hellcats. You'll never hear of the Montford Point Marines, which my grandfather was one of them, who they treated them like crap. They served in the World War, fought through the Gilberts, fought through the Marianas, came back home, didn't get any awards. He just got his award in 2006. I mean, no, I'm sorry. He died in 2006. He got an award a few years after he died. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the narrative and the history has to be sought out, and it has to be taught by us, because we can't depend on anyone else to do it. But that narrative has to be shown, because you cannot get more patriotic than Black people have been, because we've historically served this country the way that the country. It was just speaking of how many Black men came back from the World War and were accosted or lynched in uniform. In uniform. This is during what we know as the greatest generation. That time period is known as the greatest generation. Black men were coming back from war, being lynched and brutalized in uniform,
That's crazy.
forced to give up their seats on trains to German prisoners. War. This is a part of our history that we never get to hear. We aren't seeking it out, and we're not.
Jeff.
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that. Dion knows me, and I'm kind of like I'm a weird all over the place factoid guy. So whenever I knew that this was coming up, I did a little bit of research. The GI Bill was different. The initial the original GI Bill. So it's like we've heard of VA mortgages. The GI Bill, the original GI Bill, had the first VA mortgage. So soldiers coming back from World War II, you were supposed to get a federally guaranteed mortgage, unemployment insurance, and free tuition. Well, tuition for college or tuition for vocational training. So this is when the initial I'm going to speak on three things, and I'll shut it down. But the first one is, this is when redlining started. This is the first instance of redlining, because they knew that they couldn't keep these Black people from getting money, and they were going to get loans. So they were like, well, we got to figure out a way around this. And the really insidious part of it is that the Southern congressmen, they knew what was going to happen, and they saw it as a threat to Jim Crow. So they started putting little insidious tidbits into things, and they started figuring out ways on how to not give people stuff. So they were like, you know what, we're going to start redlining. You can't get this. We can't give it to you because you don't have a job. Well, I get unemployment insurance. Federal government's giving me money. Oh yeah, well, guess what? So-and-so has a job over there for you that pays less than your unemployment insurance, and you have to take that job. And they would talk to their buddies, and they'd make sure that this happened. Postmasters would refuse to deliver the unemployment applications. And this wasn't undercover. This was out in the open, man. Like, they were just doing this. Also, tuition assistance. You would go to, like in Detroit, someplace like Detroit. They'd come back home and they'd be like, you know what? I'm gonna go get some vocational training. I don't want to go to college for 4 years, because you weren't getting into a white university. They didn't care how much money you had, how smart you weren't getting in. Unless you were a charity case or something, a philanthropist decided to do that, but you'd just be sitting in a class by yourself because white students weren't going to sit next to you. So you say, I'm going to go for
around what year, Jeff? Are we talking about the original VA?
The original GI Bill it was passed, I want to say 3 weeks after D-Day.
Okay.
So, and I'm about to close up. So
you're fine.
You would go, in Detroit, you would go to vocational training. So, and this is insidious also. They would be like, you know what? They try everything to keep you out of vocational training because it was segregated. And they would say, okay, you can go, but only Black people can only go this time. And all the plumber tools, you can't touch the plumber tools. Plumber tools are for white people. Here's the plumber book. You want to be a carpenter? Here's a carpentry book. It's all tore up, and they wrote nasty stuff in it. You can't use any of the saws or hammers. You want to be an electrician? You can't touch none of that. You just have to read about it, and we ain't even going to teach you.
They say if you want to hide something from a Black man, put it in a book.
See what I'm saying? Like, and this is done to veterans, like Dion said. This was done to veterans. And if you go back and you look at our records throughout all of the wars, throughout the Civil War, throughout the Revolutionary War, throughout the Civil War, throughout the War of 1812, like if you look at our service, we served, like, we had exemplary service. As a percentage, what we did was exemplary. And you come back and they just run like it's like you were never even there. And I believe a lot of it is before, we don't have an excuse for it now, but I think now and I'm trying to figure out a way to say this, but a lot of us aren't articulate enough to get our point across, because we have so much passion, and we, especially whenever we can talk amongst each other, but a lot of us have so much passion that if we try to talk to white people about it, we don't give our message the right way because they're nonchalant about it and really dismissive, and we get upset.
I think it's a lot like Bernie Mac said, we'll talk loud, but ain't nobody gonna do nothing. We're passionate people, we're emotive. But two black people talking loud to each other, that don't mean we gonna fight.
That's normal.
I wouldn't fight about to happen. But we have lived inside of their society, and we can read their social cues. They come and visit us, take some rap lyrics, take some words and run it into the ground, but they can't read our social cues. They're unable. Black people, we have to be able to code switch all the time.
If you want to be successful.
I get on the phone and my white voice come on. Yes, this is Joseph Patrick Hart. Very nice to meet you, sir. They can't do that. They ain't ready for it.
They don't have to, Joe. They don't have to.
True statement.
Deshaun, jump in and I want to hear what you got to say about this piece that
Yes. So one of the things that me and Dion spoke about a couple of weeks ago, when he told me about the Zoom chat, and a couple words he used was "in spite of," and we serve in spite of, and something else that one of the brothers just said was that they don't have to, and I think that our Caucasian counterparts don't understand that you don't have to get outside of uniform, go to a local Walmart or whatever, and I don't want to say put on, but I can't let my hair down, so to speak, all the way. And even when I'm in uniform, I still get the uneasy looks, and they have to put on as well, just to not offend the veteran. And it's sickening. Like at the beginning of our recent turmoil in the country, with the killing of George Floyd, I spoke to my command about implementing some type of empathy training. And I think that white people believe that we're looking for sympathy. We don't want sympathy. And I liken it to, if you're in a relationship and it's toxic, and let's say that the guy is being toxic to the female and they go to counseling, and she's like, if he just admits that this relationship is toxic and there are things that we need to fix, that's a starting point. I don't want you to feel sympathy for me. I just want you to be empathetic on a human level, because you can never fully understand what I go through. We can't even come up with similar situations, because you'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, you really go through that? I'm like, this is like every day. How do you do that? You know what? It's been quite some time in history where people that came before me that had it worse, they just kind of had to do it in spite of. And I don't know what the answer is. I think the conversations like this are a starting point, but until people start to have empathy and try to understand what we deal with every day and how we have to serve in spite of, then we will never, ever turn the corner in any way, shape, or form. And then we still have to take care of ourselves at the end of the day in conversations like this, to make sure that we're in a quality headspace to still sustain in spite of.
Hey, real quick, I want to introduce Sergeant Swinton, Purple Heart recipient, 3rd Infantry Division. We served together in Iraq. He served with my wife in Iraq before he served with me. But I just want to introduce him to the group.
Okay.
Hey, how y'all doing?
What's up, bro?
Hey, how you doing?
Peace.
Good.
Boy, dog-faced soldier.
Always.
Okay. Rocket them on.
Harder to rock.
There we go.
Jeff had mentioned sort of the way we have to sort of communicate in order to just kind of get along in this society. Historically speaking, anybody that feels comfortable enough jumping in, I would like to hear, why have we as black men been so willing to fight for this country, in spite of what we faced here, on our own soil, as far, but like, I want to hear like anybody that has like a historical viewpoint, and then just general as far as how y'all feel. What made you guys decide to enlist, knowing that even though things were better, than it was for our, fathers and grandfathers or what have you, why was it important for you guys to enlist and to represent, and in the military?
Originally,
Historically, it's like Frederick Douglass said. He said, even the most racist Southerner will think twice when they see that first black brigade marching with rifles, uniforms, and them shiny brass buttons. And you just, and even it even goes to the day. I got nephews that'll tell me, "Oh, you went over there, you got shot at, you could have got killed." And I tell them, like, "Matt, they'll kill you over here." It's like, at least I can legally shoot back. And I got my friends with me, and we got more bullets than them. And and then I know me myself, besides getting shot and blown up, the Army was the easiest job I ever had. I worked at slaughterhouses. I have picked every fruit, vegetable, and anything in between you could think of. I worked at a metal factory. The Army was easy. When I joined the Army, it was like, all they can do is yell at me. They can't hit me. And if I figure out what they're going to tell me to do next, I go ahead and do it before they tell me. And they're going to call me high speed.
I know that's right.
I'm gonna go into it. I'm gonna say, so for me, it was more so just like we said. I failed to mention earlier. I'm second generation. My dad served, and so coming out of high school, I had tons of D1 football offers. Hell, Dion, to tell you, I could have been Teddy Bridgewater before Teddy Bridgewater at University of Louisville, had I decided to go that route. But it was more so for me, doing something that my dad would be proud of. And then I said to myself, well, hey, I might as well just join the Army. Joined the Army, took the same job as he did, went in, owned it. So I felt like just to see 9/11, I'm sitting in my 12th grade English class. Breaking news: first plane hits the tower. Mass hysteria. Everybody stops learning. Everybody watching the TV. Next thing I know, I get a call on the intercom. It's a call on the intercom. Hey, Larry, you need to come to the office. Your mama here to get you. You know what I'm saying? So just the look on my mom's face when she felt like, nobody knew what was going to happen next. Nobody knew, what were they going to attack next? They hit the towers. We were at Fort Knox, Kentucky. First thing, they're going to hit the gold vault. Ain't shit in there, but everybody just mass hysteria. Nobody knew. And, just the look on her face when she came and picked me and my brothers up, and then I went to the recruiter station probably about 2 weeks after that.
Wow.
Graduated high school on the 25th of May. I was going to AIT. Basic training on the 27th. I was gone just that quick. And it just, for me, it was just, trying to do something I knew my dad would be proud of. That's all I got on that.
Anybody else? Sergeant Swinton, you want to jump in there?
Yeah. So I joined the military, and I came in '95. I think I did everything I could. Tried to go to college, wasn't for me. Tried to go to college in Michigan, wasn't for me. Tried to go to college in North Carolina down in Fort Bragg, wasn't for me. Moved to DC, think I was gonna get a job down that way. Just got in a bunch of trouble. So at that point, I was like, hell, wasn't nothing else to do, man. So I went in. That's what I did. Wasn't nothing else to do. But once I got in, I realized, like, You know, at first it was challenging, but at that point I realized, like, you know, like you say, like, you just, it's a game, you know. And so if I can beat you at the game, I'm gonna always be squared away. You know, like I tell everybody, I was never considered a garrison soldier. I was always a field soldier, you know, that, but at the same time, everybody know, like, you know, you can always depend on a person like me. Deion tell you, I love what I do. I love action, and that's how I always been. So I mean, that's why I went in.
Okay. Jeff, from a historical standpoint, I imagine you got a couple of things that you wanna that you can add to this, and then if you could share kind of your own experience as well. I know
Well,
your history is deep.
and you guys step in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just going to give you a historical opinion. No matter, even with as bad as we got treated when we came back from all these wars, it was still better than being a nigga. You get what I'm saying? It was still better. It was, you still were out in the field. You still had to do this. You still couldn't find a job. But you got this much more respect. You had this, your opportunities were still better. We loved our country. We loved our people. And we were willing to fight for them. And a lot of times we did it just to show you. We did it to show them. That's how it started. Because what has been the traditional caricature of Black men? Where we shuck and jive, we're good at making people laugh, but when it comes down to it, we're kind of dumb and lazy. And we're cowards. So this is my opinion. I think that we initially served because, one, we wanted to show them we're just as good as you, we're just as smart, and we're brave. Two, it's better than over there. It's better than what I was doing before. And when I come back, somebody is going to look at me with respect. I don't know who it is, but someone's going to look at me with respect. And a little bit about myself, I'm a little bit like El Boogie. I probably wasn't as good at football as basketball as you were at football, but I consider myself like this good at basketball. Bunch of basketball scholarships, big fish, small pond. Long story short, I went someplace and I was too small to play. And I realized it was a game. Went to the Navy, became a fire controlman. Long, hard school, like very few African Americans in my rate, very few. Like we're just kind of, whenever I got in, a lot of Black people didn't even know about the program. I was the only Black dude in my rate on the boat. But like everyone has said, it's a game. It's a game, and you learn how to play it. You learn how to play that game. Well, guess what? I saw all these guys doing this. What time you show up for work? Deion, what did I say? I know you already knew that, but when Deion showed up at the shop, it was him and another Black guy. They were both out the military. They worked for me. I said, look, I don't care what time they tell you to show up. This is what time you show up. I want you here 30 minutes before everybody else. And I want you dressed out. That means 30 minutes before, ready to work. And that's what I learned in the military. It's a game. Like, and then I knew that, and you figure it out. And I learned that from my daddy. You figure it out that I looked at my daddy after he retired. He was good. He was set. I mean, he ain't no rich man, but he did 30 years, retired as an E9. Went back to contract for the military. I was looking at him, and that's what a lot of us Black folks see. We just like, I remember being young, seeing them old retired military dudes. I remember seeing like young military dudes coming back to Mississippi, doing it big. They was big dogs. They had something going for them, and I think that's why. and I think it's changing now, but me growing up, that's what I saw. I was like, man, that don't look like no bad job. I mean, I might not want to do it in the beginning, but as soon as you get to where you can get up in the morning, that's the hardest part of the military is waking up early. That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
Once you get by that, you're good. And I just think we know that we can advance ourselves from back then all the way today. That's the point. All my rambling from back then all the way today, we know that it was no matter how we were going to be ahead of where we were if we could make it back.
Tell me about the 30 minutes before dressed and ready to roll. Like, why is that important to you, Jeff?
Because you can't do what they do. You can't do what they do. I don't care what the rules are for them. I raise my boys. I tell my boys that I don't care what their rules are. Whatever they do, you cannot do what they do and expect to get what they get. This is not even a veteran mentality. This is a mentality as African Americans that we have to get in our head. Yes, in a perfect world, if everything is equal, if I show up at the same time as this white guy, I work just as hard, and we do everything the same, we should be eligible for the same benefits. We should receive the same accolades. In a perfect world, that's the way it works, but it's not perfect. The game isn't fair. And we're playing, and if you play the game, whose fault is it? Whose fault is it? If I play the game knowing how the rules are, and I try to play the game by them rules, it's my fault. If I do what they do and I don't get what they get, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Because we all know how the game works. And like I said, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. You just need to understand.
Like my mama used to say, you got to work twice as hard to get half as much.
Yep.
We all know that. I think every one of us in this call knows that. We all understand that. And it's just the way it is. And you got to get within the system to change the system. You got to work your way into the system to change it. Like, and we understand it, but I think like we got to make them understand. We got to make us understand. The more of us understand, we can make them understand.
And just like you said, at the end of the day, and a lot of people don't want to admit it, but it needs to be said. A lot of us are our own problem.
And that's and you're correct. And I would love to piggyback off that because I think a lot of our perception, even in the military, we don't have them great leaders no more that can show these young soldiers. Even in the civilian world, we don't have the great leaders to show these young cats coming up. So guess what? White people are going to look at us however they want to look at us. Until we fix what's going on within us, we'll never push forward like that because they're going to always have that perception. And I think we have hurt ourselves, and I had this discussion at the barbershop. I was like, look, man, I got it. I get tired of seeing brothers being killed. I get tired of seeing the stuff that we go through. I got that. But at the same time, how can we march when they killing us, but we're not marching when we killing us? How can we're justifying that it's okay for us to kill us, but it's not okay for them to kill us. Yeah.
That happens all the time in the hood. That's the go-to. Oh, it happens all the time. Just because it happens all the time doesn't make it right. Like you said, the leadership today is everything is competition. It's competition, and it's not so much uplifting. I come from like my job right now. I'm probably I'm the youngest lead in my company, and I'm Black. You know what I'm saying? So I try to get my guys, I try to get them in line. I tell them, I said, when I tell you to do something, I'm not telling you because it's the thing to do. I'm telling you because at the end of the day, I done been through so much. Like I already know how the game is gonna be played. So if I'm sitting here watching you get screwed over and I know how the game is played and I'm not trying to help you, I'm just as bad as everybody else.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to tell you, you know what I'm saying, well, what you need to do. Just like you said, the 30 minutes prior. In the military, we was always brought up 15 minutes prior, and it just stuck to me. I ain't telling you to be here 15 minutes prior because I want to waste your time. I'm telling you, hey, you 15 minutes prior, guess what? You got 15 minutes just in case something happens. You got that 15-minute window. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to control your time. We had Deion tell you, we had a first on Jordan, Franklin Jordan. This man would they call this man up under the damn shower, up under the shower trailer, bro, trying to catch people not with a damn PT belt. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, bro, like you going through that length to get somebody in trouble when you can just, hey man, look, man, come on, man, go put your PT belt on, man. You know you gotta have your PT belt on. You laying up under the shower trailer in the sniper position with a flashlight, trying to catch you. I'm like, man, it's crazy. And like I said, it's sometimes it be your own people, man. It be your own people sometimes, man.
I think historically, right, it's about 5,000 and free Black people that fought in the Revolutionary War, right? Obviously, I would say that the enslaved people fought under the guise of maybe we could get freedom. And you could say the same thing in the Civil War, promises of freedom. Thereafter, you start getting into the draft age, right? You start getting into the draft age, you know, you going. It is what it is, right? We standing up a real army and you going. We know specifically from Vietnam numbers, we were drafted disproportionate to our population. We made up 11% of the young male population during those years, but we made up 12.5% of all casualties. So even in that, because we were disproportionately sent to the front lines as well during the Vietnam era, and so forth and so on. And obviously, you know, you don't want to give credit, but regardless of what color your son is, had Muhammad Ali not fought and went to the Supreme Court, your son would have been eligible for draft. That was all part of this stuff. So we even changed that. But we served in spite of, for a greater purpose. Maybe it was to escape an environment, and you thought, because Dr. Eric Mason said his daddy said, man, I'd just rather go to war than stay in this country. Better environments, right? Sometimes promising for a better future, right? Because you hear rumors, like Jeff talked about the GI Bill, 1 million Black servicemen were denied the GI Bill, right? So if the average household was 2.5 kids, that's 1 million times 2.5 that were affected. See, the numbers you got to look into the numbers, right? That's generations of poverty that could have been leapfrogged had you just did what you were supposed to do and treated us fairly, right? Then you fast forward to modern time. They had some difficulties with filling the all volunteer army. Well, when the war started, when the global war on terrorism started, they started offering enlistment bonuses, right? So if I'm from East 7 Mile in Detroit, and you offer me $40,000 to sign up, guess what? I'm signing up.
Oh yeah,
that's what I'm gonna do.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? This is what we did. But I'll tell you this.
And they had them felony waivers.
They had waivers. They had student loan waivers. Loan waivers and all that stuff.
Waiver you could think imaginable, they had it.
Right. So we served, and I say I served with some dogs over the years, from my initial training with Jones all the way up through being a platoon sergeant with Song Hart. Me and Winston served in 464 Armor, Tuskegee Pierce. That was the first unit to ever have Black tankers. It was a thing, but it wasn't a thing. We served in the first unit to have Black tankers. We designed that unit crest of Black African elephant. That's the unit crest they wear. That's what it is. It was a thing, but it wasn't a thing. Like, we weren't even aware of living and walking in a historical unit like that. because it just wasn't presented to us like that. But what I do know is the guys who did do what they like. I always thought I was the best soldier wherever I was, period. And I served with a lot of guys who felt that same way, a lot of black guys who felt that same way. So when it came to that PT test, we finna give you this work. When it comes to the range, we finna give you this work. When it comes to uniform and all that stuff, we finna give you this work. And then those of us who took it seriously, we helped other people. You can't find an African American soldier that served with me that won't be able to tell you that I helped them in some kind of way. And that's just part of the story.
Hey, Dion, one more thing before we move on. I just want to, you guys, can you imagine GI Bill starts, they end the original GI Bill in 1956. So for 12 years, and if you go back and you look at the history of our country, if you look at what was happening in our country, and this is whenever suburbia was created. This is when the American dream started. This is whenever America became the place, whenever it was awesome. The land of milk and honey. You know who was shut out of that? The veterans. This explosion, this suburban explosion, was due to the GI Bill. It did exactly what it was supposed to do. We were shut out. And that's part of that wealth gap. That wealth gap, that's part of it. Like, that's a really big part of the wealth gap, is because there was a certain portion of the electorate that was excluded. They were excluded from this. Black veterans. That explosion was completely due. The greatest generation, 23% of it was excluded. And that big explosion and America taking off, I mean, it was on our backs. That's all I got.
Carson, you talked about the number of the percentage, 12.5% of casualties, but what about the number of actual draftees? Over 20%, right? Close to 25%.
Yeah, it was close to 25% of draftees. And when you look at the let me see, there say it was 7,062 black men never came home from Vietnam.
Say that again, D, because you were breaking up a little bit. How many?
7,262 never came home.
That's Vietnam?
From Vietnam. That's just one battle.
My uncle served in Vietnam, and he always tells this story about his platoon getting wiped out. And when he said wiped out, they didn't really consider the white, they didn't take into consideration the white numbers. And what he said was the white leadership would intentionally put them in situations, the black soldiers, black Marines, he was a Marine at the time, he said they would intentionally put them in positions to where they would know that something would happen to them. Like he was like telling us a story of during like mealtime. I forget what they called them back then, but like T-rats. You know, the white soldiers would eat out of the T-rat containers. You know what I'm saying? But they would force the black soldiers, the black Marines, to eat out their Kevlars, out of their helmets. So they would take their helmets off and put their food in their helmet. So now their head was exposed. You know what I'm saying? So then when you know shit hit the fan, you know, they were the first ones to go. And then you take into consideration, after I get done eating, I gotta put this nasty Kevlar back on my head. So we said 7,000. That's a lot. That's a lot of black men that lost their lives, honestly, senselessly.
Yeah.
And Sean, you got anything to add to this?
Yeah, I was piggybacking off of what the brother was just talking about in terms of people being lost during Vietnam, and the like the secondary and tertiary effects of that are things such as Bloods and Crips being created, gangs in the Midwest, and that fatherless and single parent home and pandemic that we face as a Black community, and all of us on this call that may have come from single parent homes are the ones that had to figure out manhood on our own, whether that's through a big homie or OG in the neighborhood. And some of us, including myself, was like, well, I definitely don't want to get locked up like 4 out of the 5 dudes that I grew up with in the Army. Seems like a good hustle, at least for a few years, to give me a better trajectory. And if it was by design that they did that, or if it wasn't by design that they did that, the plan was somewhat effective, but not completely, because all of us are the percentage of where it wasn't effective.
And I think it terrifies them to see the ones of us that make it. I mean, they know they set all these roadblocks up and they did everything to ensure you failed.
Mhm.
And it kills them. I know a lot of you guys up north. I think Sean Jones, he's in Mississippi. I'm down here in Florida, and all these less than melanated people that I went to high school with, all they got is the "I almost served" stories. I mean, it's hilarious
Yeah.
when you go out and you see them, and they swear up and down they're the most patriotic people on the planet. But every last one of them got these "I almost served" stories, and then they get irritated because I retired at 39. I don't really have to work. A lot of times I don't, and I tell them I'm gonna live off the government for the rest of my life. I earned it.
That's right. That's right. There was a point I wanted to make about the waivers that you talked about, Joe. It's amazing when they want to make exceptions and change rules.
Yeah.
Who was it? CeeLo? He said, I can't enlist in the army, but I know they'll draft me. I mean, and it's true. I mean, at OIF 1, we had 289th Quartermaster Company. I did convoy security. And you know, when we first went over, it was sporadic fighting, hit here and there. Then they started this beautiful thing called IEDs. Well, they weren't looking for combat troops. They were looking for the supply personnel. Guess who all them 88 mics were? Black people with morality waivers. A morality waiver means you got a felony or a pretty high misdemeanor, but hey, we at war, we'll take you.
Mm.
And 289th, I'll never forget, we had to take a lot of the boat carrier groups and other weapon parts because they were saying, I'm not going back out there. You're not going to get me killed. I will shoot my platoon sergeant before I go back out there. And, you know, and that's when, and the rebound was, you know, they filled the numbers, but then they started having problems. That's when they started the whole, you can't re-enlist if you came in on a morality waiver. You can't re-enlist if you got tattoos where you can't cover it up, because they can't say we don't want Black people to re-enlist, but they can figure out what's the audience that we don't want in. What are some of the similar things they got? They got morality waivers, they got tattoos, or you know, some other situation. And it's just like redlining and voter suppression. They won't say this is against Black people and minorities. They'll find out what we all got in common, and then there's that.
But then
It's
it
like
boils.
a club. I ain't saying Black people can't come in, but you can't get in here with no white t-shirt. You remember white t-shirts was the rage back in the 90s? And who
Yeah.
was wearing them?
Right. No gym shoes.
And I honestly believe that just like you were saying, like, you know, you couldn't re-enlist with more what was a morality waiver? That was probably before my time. But I even think so much like the Army Weight Control program. I felt like that was a way to sway the Black soldier, kick the Black soldier out. Because you know, typically, you know, you get your African American soldiers coming in, they're bigger, they're stronger, and they're faster. So to the white man, that's something he ain't never seen before. You know what I'm saying? So you trying to tell me I'm 6'1", 6'2", I'm supposed to weigh 180 pounds, right? What black man 6'1", weigh 180 pounds and don't look sick? You know what I'm saying? What black man 6'1", 180 scare you? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the Army Weight Control Program was a way to sway the black soldier out because like the obesity rate is more geared toward the black African American. So yeah, I mean the morality waiver. I think they implemented all kind of things to stop our progress.
That's right. Because if you just speaking on that, I know that directly because once I became a platoon sergeant, AR 600-9 became a problem. Because now you want me to flag these soldiers, and I know that the spirit of the rule was so that you could look good in your uniform. But so then if you look good in uniform and you pass your PT test, there is no logical reason why I should be flagged.
It was not performance based at all.
Right. That's what I'm telling you. You got a soldier busting a 320 on the extended scale. I gotta go do a damn counseling and put him on Army Weight Control Program because he got a 22-inch neck. You know what I'm saying? 320 on the PT test now. He out PTing everybody. But I gotta kick him out the Army. I gotta put him on a diet. I gotta go take him to see a dietitian. All this craziness because he's bigger than what you think he should be. That's crazy.
So y'all gotta explain this to me because I don't know nothing. We talked about the morality waiver. Why did they want the black soldiers initially, and then didn't want them to realize because the war was over?
We needed 100,000 people to fight a war.
Yeah, but if I say you can get in, but you can't stay in, I ain't got to look at your retirement or anything. Plus, guess what? There's more felons back there waiting. I get a higher turnover rate, and if we luck up, maybe you eat one of them IEDs. Maybe you never make it back home. And it's a very, the Army is a big numbers game, and even in America, everything is about numbers, and they find out which numbers will affect which population more, and those are the numbers they run.
And then I think take into consideration, you get us in there, and you got half of us, like you said, we the popular, we the ones you want, to eat IEDs. Then you got the other half of us that guess what? You got us in the door. Now we here to stay, and you ain't ready for that. You ain't ready to have to answer to a black man. But guess what? I keep whooping you in PT. I keep whooping you in weapons qual. I keep doing what I'm supposed to do. All of a sudden, now you work for me. So that's you just it's all kind of variables that just kept black people from getting ahead. That's why you don't see like too many black generals, because for one, they get fed up and they get out like me. Like I just was done. Y'all retired because it was no point. It got to the point where it was no point to even serve because for what? You're not getting your just due.
Yeah. Well, once Trump got the Republican nomination, my 4187 was at S1 the next day.
The next day.
Ain't nowhere in the world I'm serving none of this idiot.
Man, crazy.
So I know this is gonna be the last topic. I know we didn't get to them all, but I want to.
Oh, Jones had something.
I'm sorry.
Real brief. I was in recruiting command for 10 years, and I was in recruiting command from 2005 to 2015, and I saw those $40,000 enlistment bonuses for people who didn't have GEDs, and the Army would send them to the GED program. You come back with your GED, and you go to basic training, the AIT, and it was a numbers game, especially during a wartime mission. So they had to fill billets. But the flip side to that is they have another program called a Q&P program, whereas when they trim the fat at the end of the fiscal year and they say, well, what's the criteria for the Q&P? And if you fall under this criteria, i.e. you had a waiver, but it was a felony waiver for a theft over $500, so it was considered a felony. Well, you know what? You've been Q&P'd and now you're out. So in some instances, it's like a setup. that, and there's no way around it. You can get a letter of reference from the spirit of Gandhi, and they're like, well, you still fall under this criteria, so you have to go. And what I always tell soldiers, and the rule that I live by in the military is either you're gonna be the pimp or you're gonna be the hoe. And you have to find out in which instances are you gonna pimp the situation, or you might have to eat that whole card for a little while until you're in position to kind of maneuver and manipulate things a little bit better. So you don't get taken advantage of via your education and just, creating relationships with brothers like that are on the phone where you can propel after you get out.
And even like the 40,000, like they don't even tell you. You don't find out till you in AIT. You don't even get the whole 40,000.
No, no, you don't.
So they only get half, and now you're gonna give me the rest of it. Oh, the rest of my enlistment. Now y'all ain't.
That's why we enlisted downrange every time.
Every time. Look, y'all ain't tell me that. Like I'm thinking, here I am thinking when I go to, I'm getting 40,000 in my account. No, brother, you're getting half of that. We gonna give you the rest over this little 4 years, this little 5 years.
So we want you to enlist because we need bodies, right? It may be wartime, but if you survive, we don't want you to stay.
Yeah, and that's what, like he said, when you got that Q&P, even before you came in, they already knew in 4 years we gonna say thank you, but nah, you can't stay in. Because now 4 years, you probably a specialist looking at going to a sergeant. Now you about to be in the leadership role. So it's like, let's get the 4 years out of. It's cheaper to get 4 years out of them, and then send them packing, than to let them stay, because I know they hate to send me my check every month.
Yeah.
I sure be looking for mine. I be waiting on that back. I go take that calendar every week.
Hey, and another interesting thing to think about, my wife, before her current position, she was a VA, a Veterans Benefit Administrator. So what she did is she worked for the state. She was an arbitrator she was an advocate for the veteran. And I'm going to segue into what you were talking about. They're making a calculation. Whenever you go to war, they're betting on having to pay you when you come back. They know this. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to figure out how to not pay you. They want to pay you as little as possible. And you got to fight for every single dime that you get from disability. Why they want you staying there to get a 20-year check? You see what I'm getting at? They don't want you there. I want to put a guy out at 4 years. Especially like African Americans, because they get us, they send us over there into the meat grinder. They don't tell you about certain jobs. If you go to you were in recruiting, Jones, you know that you probably weren't like that, but I guarantee you knew recruiters like that. They have certain locations they go to get certain soldiers, and they ain't even telling them about this. And my recruiter didn't tell me nothing. I made a 94 on my ASVAB. They tried to send me to the military undesignated without a job. My daddy saved me. I came home from the recruiter. My daddy goes, "What you doing?" I said, "Well, it's called Seaman ATD." I said, "Well, they told me I can go into the Seaman ATD program and I get to go out to the fleet and I can test jobs and I get to pick my job." That's what they told me.
It sounds good too.
Yeah, man, I was all about it. My dad said, "Hey, boy, get in the truck." He went back to the office. He walked in. He said, "Which one of y'all talked to him?" And I pointed to him. He told me to sit down in the chair. He went in that office and closed the door. And I came out and I had a different job.
Yeah. And that's another thing that we veterans have to do. Hey, don't you go talk to no recruiter without talking to me first. Don't you do it.
They call it the finesse. They call it finessing. I know recruiters, like our homies. They're like, "Yeah, man, I put the finesse on them."
let's get to this next topic. I know everybody time is important, but I want to make sure that we get into this because I know it's important. I know y'all gonna have a lot to say. The question is posed: how do you feel about the quote unquote patriotism and it being aligned with like conservatism, right? So it's like, or like the Republican Party, where it feels like if you are not a Republican, you're not a patriot or patriotic.
I see it like this. If you want to reach a small group of intelligent people, come to them with ideas. If you want to get a large group of idiots, hit them with symbols. Their patriotism is symbols. They love the flag. What about the flag do they love? Just the fact it's a piece of cloth. The freedom that it's supposed to stand for, not so much. They love the Constitution. They can't name you 4 amendments out of it. They can't even tell you that it has 27 in total. They can't tell you who wrote the Constitution. The people that say they love America so much know nothing about its history. They know some symbols. They know a catchphrase. Their entire mentality of what America's supposed to be can fit on a bumper sticker. That should tell you everything about them right now. They can call themselves patriotic. Nah, ain't gonna happen on my watch.
They've fetishized the flag. The flag has been fetishized, and I feel bad about it. But in my neighborhood, I'm the only black dude that lives in my neighborhood. I don't fly an American flag because I feel bad about it, but I don't want to be confused. I don't have any American flags on anything. I don't wear American flags in this time because I don't want you to think something, and I'm kind of ashamed for it because I don't want you to think I'm somebody else. I don't want you to think I'm one of them because what are the flags? The flags are the flags today. If y'all tell the truth, if you see a flag, you judge that person. You know what he's about already. They got the flag. They got the Oakley sunglasses on with that goatee and that tough walk with the beer belly. You judge them all like, I know you. I know who you are. I don't want to be confused with that. They fetishize it. They fetishize the imagery. Think about One America News, Hannity, and all these shows. Start looking at the imagery: red, white, and blue, pieces of a flag. And if you're a flag, like you're tough. It symbolizes masculinity and manhood and just being American. Whenever everything that they espouse, if you drill down and you think critically about the things that come out of their mouth, it's extremely un-American. The nationalistic, xenophobic, it's un-American. We're not built on that. This country wasn't built on that. I mean, like it doesn't make any sense. When you drill it down, and they've co-opted it. It's like the opposite of conservatism. They're more like what they say, Dion, neoliberals. When you think about it, they're neoliberals. Yeah, they're neoliberals. they aren't conservative at all. And you hold up a flag, so you have the imagery, and then if you notice, how do you become more American? You put more flags.
That's simple, huh?
More flags. Like y'all saw the Republican convention? Dude had 72 flags. 72 flags. There, you super American then. I mean, it's just, and they co-opted it. The more American patriotism, conservatism. Anything else is a leftist. And I'm actually a libertarian. But I'm not really rocking with what they rock with.
Yeah. Jones, I feel like you got something to say.
Yeah, I live on base. And as y'all can tell, I was in the oven for a little bit. And on our block, my wife and I, we're probably the only black family on the street. and I don't fly a flag in front of my house. I go to work. I have a flag on my right sleeve. I know what I've done over the water, and I know that patriotism is lines up right with servitude. It's about serving, and those on the other side, they don't serve, whether it's because of their socioeconomic status, allegedly, or whatever, but they don't serve. Even our commander in chief, like, I don't know if there's anybody in his lineage who served. And that's big to me, along with leadership character, because all of these individuals that are super patriots, a lot of the stuff that they subscribe to are from individuals, I'll say that to keep my rank, individuals who lack moral character. And I find it hard to line up or fall in with somebody who does not have a high moral character. That's even as far as like being a drug dealer. If you got somebody that's supplying a block, but you heard that he told on people, no one's gonna run with you because your moral character is off. Like, your moral compass is off. How can I do that? Or you beat women and beat kids like this. That's not patriotism. Patriotism is servitude, and servitude without looking for anything in return. So that's my 3 cents.
My outlook on it, everybody's not gonna show patriotism the same way. I mean, it just boils down to what you believe in, how you feel about it in your heart. Like going like football games, basketball games, standing up, placing my right hand over my heart, and saluting the flag. I get it, but just because I take a different stance doesn't make me less patriotic. You know what I'm saying? I can show my patriotism in different ways. And then, like you said, like a lot of the ones that scream, oh, you're not patriotic, this, that, they don't even know certain things about the flag. It boils down to, like, people think that burning the flag is bad. But what people don't know, that is one of the ways to properly dispose of a flag, is to burn it. But if you get caught burning the flag, oh, you're not this, you're not that. You know what I'm saying? So I think before you can try and label somebody as not being patriotic, you need to understand what patriotic means. It means certain things to different people. That's how I feel about it.
And that's why every time I go to the gun store and buy bullets, I wear my Veterans for Impeachment shirt.
But it's crazy because just like you said, go buy your bullets and stuff. They speak the Constitution and amendments. Hell, the only one they know is the Second Amendment. And you ask yourself, why is that the only one you know?
They don't know it.
And they don't, like Dion said, they don't know it that well. They don't know the Second Amendment that well.
You know what I'm saying? They the one that they recognize. I won't say no. The one that they recognize and the one that they quote is the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms.
I tell you 2 words they leave out of it all the time: well-regulated.
And a well-regulated militia.
Militia, yeah, it is. Yeah.
They leave that out. They leave it like.
They know what words to leave out now.
They kind of gave it. They kind of gave them guns, so like, it was, our country wasn't at that time. We weren't America.
Yeah.
We weren't the America that we are now. It wasn't when they were talking about a tyrannical government. They were talking about England.
Yeah.
They weren't talking about fighting your own government, because we've all been in the military. I tell all these tough guys, yeah, the gun, you had to come take my guns for me. I told my neighbors, look, I'm gonna tell you how it'll work. They could have a dude pull up in this neighborhood with a bullhorn and go, I need everybody to bring their guns to the front of the neighborhood and drop them off. And they'd be like, we ain't gonna drop nothing off. All right, I'm gonna drop 2 Tomahawks in the back of this neighborhood. And they're going to drive that dude up, 2 dudes in a Humvee can take every gun in this neighborhood. you finna drop your gun off. Y'all ain't no tougher than nobody else. You really ain't.
Leave that. When they ready to take them, they gonna take them.
And then they ain't gonna take them. They just gonna make bullets expensive or take gunpowder.
A laundry company could take out most of these cats.
Yes. They think that in America we think that we're made of stronger moral fiber than the rest of the world. As we discussed earlier, we joined the military for something. They over there fighting to fight because they believe in something. They believe in something. They're over there fighting us knowing they're gonna lose. Because they believe in it. And over here, the traditional thinking is that we're stronger than them. We're built better. Oh, we ain't. You go ask that dude that just dumped his doo-doo out the window, I guarantee he can tell you 7 generations. Most of us can't even tell you that. You know, like it's what they call it, cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
We tell ourselves. Oh,
patriotism has been co-opted, period.
Yes.
And it's been co-opted more fiercely in the last 4.5 years. Now, I'll go back further than that. Probably 8. They've made patriotism and conservatism synonyms, which they are not. Conservatism is about maintaining the status quo, whether that's well-known evils or not. You're against change. That's what conservative means, because words have meanings, right? But when you're talking about patriotism, you're talking about a service, like Jones said, to your country, lock, stock, and barrel, everybody in it. So you can't condone, vote for policies, support systems and people who oppress your own citizens and call yourself a patriot. I'm sorry, it doesn't work. And you can't fly the Confederate battle flag right up under your US flag and call yourself a patriot.
You need to come to Florida. They got
I'm
the
in
flag
Louisiana.
where half of it is the Confederate flag, the other half is the US flag. And I'm like, what kind of mental midgetry is this?
A traitor's flag.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I call it. I call it the Confederate battle standard, aka a traitor's flag. I say it in their face. Dion can tell you, a traitor's flag.
You want to know what patriotism is? Patriotism is a man named Edward L. Watkins leaving Michigan, going to World War II, going to Camp Lejeune, staying in a mud hut, a tent, being treated like crap, fighting across the Gilberts and Marianas, having 3 of his brothers die, come back to this country, continue to serve as a police officer, work his way up to police chief, have stuff in place for children in the neighborhood, and continually serve in his country, regardless of the fact that they did not give him his proper due after he served. That's patriotism. He served in spite of the treatment, along with so many other people, so many other, like Jones's father's generation is that generation. We served in spite of. That's patriotism. When you know probably the promise of the American dream won't be for you, but maybe your children or your grandchildren might enjoy it. When you know that you're gonna come home to Jim Crow and you served anyway, when you know you're gonna come home and during Reaganomics, but you served anyway, when you know you're gonna come with 1,000 MAGA hats in your neighborhood, but you serve anyway, that's patriotism. Not you flying around an American flag on the back of your pickup truck like you lost. We know you're in America. We know exactly where you are.
Anybody else want to add? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Joe.
Nah, I totally agree.
Larry, you good? You got anything to add?
No, I'm good, man. I think Dion hit the nail on the head. Dion Yeah, he laid it out there for us pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. That's where that was words of wisdom right there.
Yeah,
So,
that's a tough act to follow right there.
yeah, that's a closer right there. That's a closing statement.
Exactly.
So for the sake of time, how we do we've been it's just 7, well, from here it's 7:35 my time, Eastern time. Do y'all want to go ahead and wrap, or try to get through this last topic that we had on the docket?
I'm down. I'm in Hawaii. It's like it's 1:30. I ain't got nothing to do. But since
And
we talk,
we train the standard, not the time.
not the time.
Okay, good. So let's bring it home and cover, it kind of plays off of what we just talked about, this whole expression of conservatism. As Black veterans, how do y'all feel about those who, the people that speak on injustice, considered, like, when they're considered un-American? How do y'all feel about that from a Black veteran perspective?
I served specifically so that they can do that. I don't care what you do. I served so neo-Nazis can walk around and spit and spew their hatred. As long as you don't affect me, and as long as you don't talk about actually hurting people, I serve so that you can say whatever you want to. And I'm dead serious. I don't gotta like it. I mean, and just whenever people and I know the most prevalent one is Colin Kaepernick. I'm not going to kneel down during the national anthem. I support his decision to do so. That's what I fought for. Well, I'll take it back. You guys are Army. I was on the boat. I didn't fight nobody. I pressed buttons. But
you was there, brother. You was there.
I tell people all the time I ain't never do nothing tough. But I served so that Colin could kneel. Yeah. And more specifically, as a Black man, how are we supposed to talk about injustice? We ain't supposed to break nothing. We ain't supposed to complain real loud. You ain't supposed to protest. You can't kneel down. I can't just bow my head, respectfully, and not participate. I don't know what we're supposed to do. No, I know what we're supposed to do. We're just supposed to get up and go to work tomorrow and not say nothing.
Dribble. That's what we're supposed to do.
Get up and go to work tomorrow and keep your mouth shut.
Yep.
We should be happy. We should be happy we're not living in the hood. How dare you?
Even better, we saved y'all from Africa. We ain't asked y'all to come pick us up.
Right.
Yeah, but
it's crazy.
It's interesting.
It's crazy that you say that, man. I seen on Facebook, man, somebody had posted a video in Africa, and it was said that next time somebody tell you to go back to Africa, show them this video, and it's at least $1 million homes in the States over there. So to me, you tell me go back to Africa, if that video that I saw was any implementation of what's going on in Africa, I'll be glad to go back. Yeah. Because I guarantee you it's better than what's going on here right now. When you have to worry about whether the cop that just pulled me over for doing 10 miles over the speed limit, whether or not he gonna shoot me or not, that's crazy times we living in. Because these are the guys that are vowed to serve and protect us. So now it's already bad enough you finna give me a ticket and take my money. So that's the serving part. I'm good with that. But now I gotta worry about, okay, is he one of those guys? Is he gonna kill me? You know, my son asking me, Daddy, is he gonna kill us? You know, stuff like that. And when you have to live in those times, it's crazy. It's crazy to me. Even like when I got out, I was a sheriff deputy for the last 2.5 years. You know what I'm saying? And if I get pulled over, that's one of the first things I do. I show my ID.
Right.
And to try and make the officer comfortable. But when you as an officer yourself get pulled over and you start getting that feeling in your gut, that's a problem. Yeah. That's a major problem. So and then it goes to what I think it was Jones said, the difference between sympathy and empathy. Just because I speak about the injustice of my people, you know what I'm saying? Just because I speak up for my people being done wrong, that doesn't make me anti-American. You know what I'm saying? I'm not asking. I just want you to understand. I say Black Lives Matter. Your rebuttal is all lives matter. Come on, man. That you taking what I'm saying and putting it in a broad spectrum. You know what I mean? All lives matter. I got it. Okay, we all know all lives matter, but right now, all lives ain't the ones being targeted.
Yeah.
It's blacks. It's blacks, and that I just feel as a black veteran, we tend to look for something that we're not gonna get. At the end of the day, I think we look for the respect and the dignity, but at the end of the day, we just not gonna get it.
And I think that's like what Dion said. Maybe not in our lifetime, but we're gonna keep fighting. Our kids gonna get a little bit closer, grandkids gonna get a little bit closer, and hopefully. And the thing I think that a lot of Americans have a problem with is they don't realize a win don't stay a win if you stop fighting. Because the same people that were opposing you from getting that win, they will take it back. And like I tell people, we didn't even get to be Americans until the 14th Amendment. So the 14th Amendment, every amendment before that didn't even apply to us. They had the fact that you built a nation based on the equality of all men, and then 14 amendments later, you finally get to say, oh yeah, we have to treat everybody in America the same. So that's my favorite amendment because none of them apply if everybody isn't treated the same. So until that's an injustice. Anytime a rule applies to you but doesn't apply to me, that's injustice. Anytime I can do something but nobody else can do it, that's injustice. It's not a law. It's a privilege. And they hate to hear that word that they're privileged. I, as a man, have privilege over women. And I go out of my way to make sure that I don't abuse that. I know the position that I'm in. And the good thing is there are some allies out there that are willing to go the full Rachel Dolezal. She might be crazy, but she threw her whole life away to help black people. She cool with me.
You and me. She got my vote.
Yeah, she got my vote. But until the 14th Amendment is realized that everybody is treated equally under the law, if that cop kills me, he needs to be held accountable the same way if I killed him. And that's all I'm asking. People gonna do people stuff. We gonna hurt each other. We gonna yell at each other. We gonna scream at each other. As long as we all get the ability to do the same thing and are held accountable for when we get out of line, yeah, I'm gonna always complain because I love America enough to believe that it can live up to the promises that they're made.
Carson?
You get the 14th Amendment in place, then we can jump back to we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, right? Endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? You could tie it all together, right? So if you tie it all together, if you don't view that as a justice document, I don't understand what you're reading. It has to be a justice document. Even though you weren't including us in your language, you were seeking justice and freedom from oppression while you were administering injustice and oppression. But let's just tie it all together, right? It's a justice document. So the undergird and the linchpin of America was supposed to be justice. Even though, once again, at that time they weren't talking about us in that language. But we're tied all together. We're supposed to be all equally protected under the law. So as a veteran, you pledged to fight, to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The flag was not in my enlistment oath. I promise you it wasn't in there. I got re-enlistment joints right here. It ain't in there. So the Constitution has things in it. Like if somebody voters suppression, that's unconstitutional. If you're voting for people who support that, then you're unconstitutional, which means you're for injustice. But you can't explain that to people because they try to tell you, well, what's the problem with needing an ID? I said, there's no problem until you close the DMVs in the Black people's neighborhood.
Right.
And then you just refuse to, well, we open it one day a week. Yeah, I mean, come on now. So when we put these things together, there's no way that you can call speaking up for justice, speaking out against injustice, anti-American, when the foundation and your foundational documents are justice documents. What do you call a Supreme Court judge? You call him a justice. I'm just saying, justice is supposed to be blind and it's supposed to balance out. But justice has been peeking from behind that blind when it comes to us historically. Number two, I just want to say something that might be a little bit off topic. When this thing that we talk about with this myth of because people like to bring it up, especially conservatives, Black on Black crime. There is no such thing. There's neighbor on neighbor carnage, and historically, people get killed by their freaking neighbors, and it's exacerbated in areas that are below a certain income line, with low resources and low outlets to education and other things like that. That's just a fact. I don't care where you go. That's why we have an opioid epidemic in trailer parks now in certain other areas. Like when we had the crack epidemic in the projects. But we're treating it differently, right? It's not a war on it, right? We're not coming up.
We're trying to help them, Dion. We're trying to help them.
Right. We're not busting into government housing at 1 o'clock in the morning, or handcuffing kids on the bed and all that stuff, snatch your daddy out, all that stuff. We're not coming up with rules that says that your father can't be in the home if you're on aid. We're not doing that anymore, right? These things have changed. But if your foundation is as a Black veteran, or as a veteran, period, because you see veterans overall saying some weird stuff, and I say, man, I thought you were supposed to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. This is a constitutional right that is being violated, and you're being okay with it. That means you're violating your oath. It just don't make sense.
Swin, you anything to add on this topic?
Yeah, I think like what Dion said, you know, is really the truth. Like I always tell people, people are gonna do what people do. They're gonna continue being disrespectful. I don't care how long we go down through history, it's always happened, you know. But like I say, we still have to fix us, you know. And like I tell you, the Constitution was never meant for us. You know, you take the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment was basically created to keep Black people in captivity. You know, they like we say, police was designed to capture slaves. You know, and that's basically what's going on. But none of this can occur, and nothing can happen to us if we're strong, if we stick together, if we don't allow this to happen. You know, I always look at like how the Black Panthers were able to come and control so much, you know, where
they basically were feared. But now there's no fear against the black man and just the black culture. Like, they want to steal our culture and be like us, but at the same time they want to get rid of us, you know. And we're fighting an uphill battle, but it's a battle that we can win. It's just the fact that if we were to gel together and come together, it can be easily accomplished. Like, you know, Barack Obama said it best, you know, we have to do a little bit at a time because we can't get it all at once. We know that, you know. And when you hear these jokers around here talking about, oh, you know, I'm a patriot, yeah, you can say that. I mean, you can say it. We all talk a good game, but that don't mean you're a patriot. You know, you're just gonna run off at the mouth. That's what you're gonna do. You know, you got Trump around here. You know, I hate to say it, he got people, you know, believing that we're the perception of black people is basically we're just thugs. You know, we're out of control, and you know it's gonna always happen. I don't care if the Constitution was meant for us. You know, you're gonna have these people who have this perception of us. You know, I look at even in the country of Africa. You know, look at how the white people are constantly taken from Africa, yet and still Africa is a beautiful country. You know, and everything is so crazy about what's going on in this world today. We're sitting here, and I love the thing that we're doing right now is we're talking, and hopefully we can expand that to more brothers and bring them in. See, and then when they start understanding what's going on and they start understanding what the Constitution really states and what the Constitution really means, then they'll start being able to make things stronger. And at the same time, I would love to bring some of my Caucasian brothers in and let them understand this is what the Constitution really meant. This is what it really means. See, because as long as they don't know, it's going to always be like that. The most dangerous person is a gullible person. And you have a lot of white people that are basically gullible to this stuff. And they're the ones who are doing this. You look at the Proud Boys. I mean, they're gullible. You got a bunch of dudes who think they're patriots. You know, we're this, we're that, and it's just I don't know. It's gonna always be that way. You know, until we fix us to where we can and we bring them in little by little. You know, sometimes the best way of accomplishing things is to sit down and talk to the other party, and that's just, you know, that's how I look at it.
Thank you, Swinton. Jeff, go ahead and jump in. I know you got something to say about this one.
Who, me? I thought L Boogie, you was trying to jump in.
Huh?
You was about to jump in, L Boogie?
No, I just wanted to just to piggyback off of what Swinton said. You know, it's just a matter of sitting down and having that uncomfortable conversation, man. And to me, when you get like-minded people in the room, you get results, right? But if you sit down and you have this conversation with your quote unquote white friend, because, you know, when the people say, oh, one of the things you hear, some of my best friends are white, you know, I can't be racist, some of my best friends are white. If they don't come into the conversation wanting to understand, it's gonna be pointless. They have to be in a position where they want to understand. Like I work with blacks, I work with whites. I've never had a white coworker come to me and say, "Hey, Winston, let's sit down, man. Let's talk about it." You know, they're quick to jump into the Trump and Biden debate, but they won't sit down and have the racial injustice conversation with you because it's uncomfortable. And until we can get to a comfort level, to me, I just don't see it getting that way anytime soon. Like you said, Joe said, maybe my grandkids and my great grandkids can get it there, but right now, the way the climate is right now, I just don't see it.
Yeah, because when you have that conversation, then there has to be an admission.
Admission,
right?
admission becomes defense. And then once you get into admission versus defense, and what you came to the table with, now is motherfucker, you better not say the wrong thing, we gonna fight.
Right.
So now you wait, now you in this conversation, you waiting on key words, like go ahead and say the wrong shit. Like we done talking. Like, nah, I don't want to talk no more. I'm waiting on you to say the wrong thing so I can punch in your mouth, and vice versa. So until they can, like you said, until there is an admission, that is going to be an uncomfortable conversation. It's going to be.
So my view is, like, I have really strong views about being an African American man, but a little bit about me. My wife is white, and she's not a white girl that acts black. She's a white girl. We all know the difference.
Right.
I have 2 biracial sons. Going back a little bit further, I've never heard my father or mother, I know based on the way that they raised me, they're not racist. They never said anything bad about white people. I grew up in Mississippi, so they told me how to behave around white people to stay alive, but they never said anything bad. Right. Back to what I was saying. I'm particularly careful about the way I act and the things I say around my sons. They're half white.
Right.
And it's really difficult. Like at times it's difficult because I have to parse what I say. I want you to love your grandpa. I want you to love your mom's people. I don't want you, but like I said, at the end of the day though, you still black though.
Yeah, you got to understand, like, yeah, I want you to love them, but at the same time, I want you to understand how their people treated my people.
And not only that, their grandparents are going to see them one way. Sadly, a lot of times white people outside of that family, they're not going to see them as that individual.
I would tell you what about black and white kids, specifically boys. Excuse my French, but you're cute until your pecker gets hard. They cute. They little fuzzy, they curly hair, they cute. All the way until they get old enough to start talking to them white girls. And then you ain't mixed no more.
Yeah.
Black. And that's what I teach my kids. I teach my boys that, look, you can hang out with white people, you can do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, at the very end of the day, expect to get treated this way. Don't be surprised if they treat you like you black. Don't ever be, you ain't gotta act black, but just don't be surprised. And moving on to the difficult conversation, just with my boys, and I mean, half of my friends were military guys. I grew up like off and on military bases. Half my friends are white. And I actually have met white, like I have had white people come up to me and I tell them, I don't want you to feel sorry for me. I don't want you to understand. I don't want you to agree. I want you to attempt to. I just want you to attempt. I just want you to hear me and attempt to. And something that a good way that I've gotten through to one of my really good friends on this racial injustice, I say, what if it happened to me? Man, that wouldn't happen to you. Yes, it would. It would happen to me. And the first thing that they do is they besmirch my character. That's the very first thing they're going to do. They're going to turn me into less than a human. They're going to take away every avenue for sympathy, every avenue that you can have for sympathy for me. That's the first thing they're going to do. And you're going to know, but how would you feel if it happened to me? And then a lot of them have started, like they at least admit it. They're like, man, it's really messed up, but nah, man, ain't no but. Ain't no but. Like a cop's job is not justice. That's not what cops are there for. They are not there to administer justice. They're out there, if they see you breaking the law, they pick you up, or they suspect you're breaking the law, they see something, they pick you up, they take you in, and somebody else administers justice. They don't administer punishment. That's not their job, and that's what they're doing. And it's particularly messed up because it by proportion, it happens to mostly Black people. After Black people, it happens to minorities in general, and after minorities in general, it happens to poor people. That's just how it works, how the numbers work. And we have to have this conversation. And back to what I said earlier, and as El Bookie said, we get passionate about it. And if you say the wrong thing, man, as Dion said, I'll beat your lips small.
Beat your lips.
Knuckle
you know
up.
What I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it's gonna pop off because I can already see that, because the worst thing about it, it's not the blatant disrespect, but I don't like to feel like you're insulting my intelligence.
I think insult intelligence and just not like having it's sad to say. I mean, lack of it's sympathy. Like you cannot sit back and see somebody being done wrong as a human being and not have sympathy for that person or those people as a whole. It's when you get insensitive. That's when I have the problem. Is insensitivity.
Because that's what they do. That's part of the character assassination.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Watch the next time a black man is killed, the first thing they do is assassinate his character.
First thing they do.
They turn you into less than a human. So it makes it easy not to care. It makes it easy for Black people not to care about Black people.
Yeah. Like the Breonna Taylor case. Breonna Taylor in her bed, in her house, the police kicking her door, and she's shot defending her home. You turn around, you ask a white person now, if somebody kicks your door in unexpected, what are you supposed to do?
I'm gonna shoot him.
Hey, who's there? I'm trying to sleep. No. You just came into my sanctuary where my kids sleep. You know what I'm saying? And then the first thing they're gonna say, oh, her boyfriend. It wasn't her. It was her boyfriend. Was a drug dealer. He was selling drugs and all this other. I'm like,
and most of them was buying them.
Huh?
And most of them was buying them.
Exactly. It's crazy.
I think one thing that has limited us is when we get into the injustice conversation, there's a lot of volleying back and forth because we limit it to Black men getting shot. Well, mass incarceration is a part of injustice. This medical apartheid where Black women are so much likelier to die during childbirth because they're not being treated with any kind of empathy by the doctors. It's part of injustice. The starting point of education in our communities is injustice. I'm talking about, I mean, we go as far as going into food deserts. Once you start getting into widening our range of how we talk about injustice, first of all, they're not going to have the volume, because you can't say, what about Chicago, when I'm talking about medical apartheid and women dying in the maternal mortality rate in the same state where they got the most stringent abortion laws. You can't get into what about Chicago when you talk about that. So we got to widen our range. And there's another thing that happens with this. The only way we've made it through this for the most part is our spirituality, right? Whatever it may be. The average Black person, they believe in something, some kind of higher power, right? So a lot of times that gives us to forgiveness. But I'm gonna read a quote from Dr. Jemar Tisby. He says, Black forgiveness is costly. It requires us to absorb wrongdoing even as we continue to work for justice. Black forgiveness becomes cheapened when we take it for granted. Black forgiveness is admirable when it is freely given and not demanded or expected. And the best response to Black forgiveness is to prevent what makes it necessary in the first place.
Deshaun, take us home. Larry, did you have something?
No. I'm listening when Dion speak, man. I've always every time he talk,
y'all
man,
go sit down.
Like he was coming up. Like anytime he talked, I was listening, man. Like, and when he would talk, I'd just be in awe because, like, the brother speaks. He speaks very, very well. And even like sports, like he just spits facts. And when he talks, people just listen. And I'm just listening.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been calling him the surgeon lately, man. He's so thorough right now. He in a different zone with his research, and his attention to detail always been there. You know what I mean? So much value to add. But all y'all got great points and great perspective. You know, speaking for yourself, Deshaun, he has not been short on great quotables himself today. Go ahead and kind of wrap this topic up for us, if you would, bro, and kind of give us your perspective on this. You on mute.
Sorry, I got these kids, these refugees are screaming in the background. I was saying that one of the things that I keep hearing is, how do we continue to, and I'm a firm believer in our greatness as Black people, even in terms of spirituality. Our alignment is in line with pure intentions. That's how come we are forgiving. That's how come we can persevere. That's how come we don't break down when we face epidemics as a people, such as slavery and racial injustice and etc. No, we don't like it. No, we don't want to accept it. But we have a certain deity about us that's above everybody else. And yes, we're all created equal, but it's all about relationships and alignment. And I'm steadfast on that. And that's what keeps me going in uniform. Because one thing that I told my wife, when my uniform gets heavier every day to put on when I have to go to work, because I know that people that look like me are treated unfairly and don't get the justices that I fight for and the freedoms that I fight for every day. That's what I have to close, bro.
Cool. I just want to say I'm just super honored to be a part of the conversation, man, and to hear y'all brothers' stories. Some of y'all, Dion, and mentioned to me, but it's nice to kind of get listen to y'all and get my own perspective on things. I really hope this is the first of many conversations where we can continue to sort of put a curtain back and be able to tell y'all stories, y'all experiences, y'all families' experiences, and some of the things that y'all may battle with, regrets that y'all have, or these tensions. It's been so much powerful stuff, man. I just want to thank all y'all for showing up and attending and having some real spit to provide, and some real value to add to this conversation that definitely has to continue. I want to just open up for any last words, and then let's wrap.
Hey, thanks for letting me. I really appreciate the invite. Me and Dion, we've fellowshipped extensively. I mean, and we agree a lot. We agree on a lot of the same topics, and I'm really happy to meet all you guys, man. Like, I know that, like, because a lot of times, especially being an intellectual is difficult. Everyone in here is intellectual, so sometimes you feel like you're on an island. And I'm really happy that I got to find some like-minded fellas to fellowship with for a little bit. I love the experience. I'll participate whenever you guys want me to.
I just want to say thanks to all y'all for showing up. All y'all been fam and continue to be fam. But real quick, I'm gonna say something to y'all off wax once we stop recording. It ain't nothing, just a little request real quick. But I appreciate y'all, man, for showing up. I got big bros, I got little bros, I got all that on here. So I got regular twin bros, however you want to say it. We all on here, man. So appreciate y'all for showing up.